Yeah. Becky, do you want to mute? Oh, yeah, mute yourself. Okay. Good evening, and thank you for joining us for another session of our Beyond Access series. Tonight, we are here with our special education preschool team, and we're going to be talking about learning through play. I just want to give a couple of reminders for everyone that we will be answering questions throughout the presentation through using the Q&A function. The team will be answering questions around preschool special education. If you have any other questions, you can always email our special education inbox at specialeducation@schools.nyc.gov. Or if you want to put it in your questions here, just please make sure to enter your email address and phone number along with your question so that someone from our team can get back to you after the session. So with that and without any further ado, I have the great honor and privilege of presenting my colleague, Maria Robustelli, who is the Director of Preschool Special Education. Maria, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Jose. Good evening, everyone. I'm really happy to be here. Our session tonight is going to be led by Shahna Paul. Shahna is our behavior project manager on the preschool special education team. And I'm also joined by Rebecca Burke. Becky is our manager for special projects. I'm really thrilled to be here this evening to join all of our families in sharing information regarding how you can support your child at home through play. As we begin our discussion this evening, I want to highlight the New York City Department of Education's commitment to creating inclusive preschool classrooms where children of all backgrounds and ability can feel welcomed, valued, and supported. Inclusive preschool classrooms offer the opportunity for students with disabilities to learn and socialize with their peers without disabilities in their least restrictive environment. This means including children with disabilities in early childhood programs together with their peers without disabilities to the greatest extent appropriate. It also means having high expectations for all of our preschool students, supporting their participation in all learning and social activities, and using services and supports to foster their development, their friendships with peers, and their sense of belonging. This applies to all of our young children with disabilities, from those with the mildest disabilities to those with the most significant disabilities. So make sure that as you work with your CPSE team to develop your child's IEP, you discuss whether your child's needs can be met in a general education setting. These settings may not be appropriate for all of our students, but we encourage you to review the resources available on our DOE webpage and consider these inclusive options for your child. Thank you again for joining us this evening, and I'm just going to send it back over to Jose.
Thank you so much, Maria. Folks, without much further ado, I'm going to kick it over to Shahna, who is going to be presenting us for the day. Shahna, are you there?
Yes.
All right. Well, I'm sharing your screen and you're good to go.
Okay, thank you, Jose. Welcome everyone to tonight's session. We're going to be talking about the importance of play in early learning and how through play, families can build their child's knowledge and skills. Play is often talked about as if it were a relief from serious learning, but for children, play is serious learning. Play is really the work of childhood. Play is a powerful tool. Playing is how children learn about the world and their place in it. It's the natural language of children even before they've mastered verbal communication. It sets the stage for future learning and success from the classroom to the workplace. Through play, children learn to discover, create, and problem solve. When children play, they learn, practice, and master skills. Research shows that play has many benefits for children. Play helps a child to increase their self-awareness, self-esteem, and self-respect, improve and maintain their physical and mental health, develop their confidence, promote their imagination, independence, and creativity, develop their social skills and learning, build resilience, and learn about their environment and the wider community. Play also provides opportunities for children of all abilities and backgrounds to play together. Play allows for growth because it meets the needs of the whole child. It addresses all domains of children's development that are included in the preschool learning standards. When parents play with their children, they facilitate and reinforce the growth of their children's skills across all areas of development. During the last few months, we have been dealing with social distancing, self-quarantine, and school and work closings, all as a result of COVID-19, and most recently, the demonstrations happening in our city and cities across the country. During this time, we may all be experiencing some type of stress and anxiety. Children may also be experiencing these feelings. It might be the changes in routine, or they might sense a change in the feelings of adults or children around them. In addition to promoting a child's health and development, play helps to build the safe, stable, and nurturing relationships that buffer children against stress and build social and emotional resilience. The happiness and one-to-one interaction that happens during play can help manage stress for our children. Play can also reduce stress for adults. When we play, we are at our happiest and we can withstand incredible hardships. Research says that play makes us feel better. Special education services fall along a range from less restrictive to more restrictive. The CPSE will always consider a child's least restrictive environment, or LRE. LRE means that your child will receive their services in a setting with non-disabled children to the greatest extent appropriate. The CPSD team will first consider whether your child's needs can be met in a general education setting. Your child's IEP is also developed with the preschool learning standards in mind. Preschool learning standards include 5 domains. These are approaches to learning, physical development, social and emotional development, communication and language, and cognition. Your child's IEP goals are connected to these domains. Approaches to learning is how children become involved in learning and gain knowledge. For example, your child may have an IEP goal related to increasing or developing their focus and attention. Physical development focuses on children's physical growth as well as their ability to control the muscles of their bodies and handle objects. For example, your child may have an IEP goal that addresses climbing up and down stairs. Social and emotional development is a child's ability to understand the feelings of others, control his or her own feelings and behaviors, get along with other children, and build relationships with adults. For example, your child may have an IEP goal that focuses on using words to express anger or frustration. Communication in language is a child's ability to understand, create, and express meaning either verbally or non-verbally. This includes pre-reading. For example, your child may have an IEP goal that focuses on following directions. Cognition is what children need to know and understand about their world and how they apply what they know. This includes math, science, social studies, and the arts. For example, your child may have an IEP goal that focuses on counting objects to 5. In early childhood education, learning is play-based. When your child is in the classroom, teachers use play to support learning and work toward meeting IEP goals. At home, when your child plays, they are learning skills in all of these domains. When your child balances a stack of blocks or sets a table for their doll, they are learning. For a child, playing and learning are one and the same. Any activity can be playful to young children, and any type of play can offer multiple opportunities to learn and practice new skills. Children learn different things from play at different ages and stages, including creativity, flexibility, and problem solving. And the more chances your child has to play, the more they learn about how to play. The way your child plays will change throughout their early years. During this time, you might notice your child engaging in different stages of play. This may include solitary, onlooker, parallel, associative, and cooperative play. Solitary play is when children play by themselves and don't pay attention to what others are doing. Adults might worry about children playing alone, but actually, solitary play is very normal. When children engage in solitary play, they are able to explore freely, master new skills, and prepare themselves to play with others. Onlooker play is when children watch other children during play. The active part of this stage of play is watching others. You may think children engaged in onlooker play do not want to engage with other children, but in fact, it is a very normal part of play development. Children learn a lot by watching others. They learn about the social rules of play and relationships. They explore different ways of playing or using materials, and they learn about the world in general. Parallel play is when children play next to each other, but are not really interacting. Think of this stage like a warm-up exercise. Children work side by side on the same activity, practicing skills, and learning new methods to engage with each other. Associative play is when children make and share things, give each other things, or join in with what other children are doing. Associative play allows children to begin practicing what they have observed through onlooker and parallel play. Cooperative play is when children join together to do activities. It might also be making up rules or playing games with rules. It's important to remember cooperation is an advanced skill and can be very difficult for young children. Ironically, cooperative play often involves a lot of conflict. This is normal. It is sometimes difficult for young children to share, take turns, and negotiate control in these types of play scenarios. You can support children engaged in cooperative play by staying close and helping them learn healthy expression of emotions and teach them problem-solving skills. As children grow and mature, their play skills also change, allowing for the development of new skills that are more varied and complex. It is important to acknowledge that there is variability in play development and that these stages often overlap. At any stage, parents play an important role, and at all stages, play contributes to children's ongoing cognitive, physical, language, and social and emotional development. For children with disabilities, some stages may last longer or happen later in their childhood. The important thing is to figure out where your child is and start there. You may want to reach out to your child's teacher or related service providers to discuss your child's current stage of play and for specific recommendations for how you can support your child. There are, however, strategies that all families can use to strengthen their children's play. Thinking about the play area is a good place to start. Take a look at your play space. Think about your child's individual needs. Some questions to ask yourself are, is your child comfortable playing out of your sight? Is there too much noise or other distractions? Is this a good place for the activity, such as running, throwing balls, or painting? Is this a good time for the activity? For example, singing and dancing while siblings are engaging in remote instruction on the computer? Is your child in a good position? For example, sliding down on or out of an adult chair? It is also important to think about the amount of toys your child has at one time. Children can be easily overwhelmed with choice, and a child who is unsure of what to play with or how to start often ends up playing with nothing at all. Playing at eye level with your child is another key strategy. Get down on the floor with your child or sit next to them on the couch or at the table when you play. As a parent, you are your child's very first and favorite playmate. From the very beginning of your child's life, they are playing with you, whether they are watching your face as you feed them or listening to your voice as you sing to them. By being involved, children learn that adults are invested in them and that they are important. Once your child is settled into a play space with their toys, join your child's play and follow their lead. This is important because children learn best when they are interested in the play. Child-led play means watching your child and responding to what they say or do. When you follow your child's lead in play, you can take advantage of things that interest them to help them learn something new. Also, when your child leads, they build communication skills and learn how they influence the world around them. If your child does not yet speak, tune into what they are doing or pointing to and use these moments to talk with them. So what might this look like? Start by noticing your child's interests. It could be something they're playing with, like a toy car or stuffed animal, or something they are doing, like dancing. Follow along with what your child is doing. If they throw a ball to you, throw it back, or maybe roll it to them. Stay focused on the activity. Avoid distracting your child or making any big changes to the way the activity is happening. Ask questions or comment on what you're both doing. For example, that was a nice throw. I almost missed it. Give your child enough time to respond. For children who do not yet have language, this may be a nonverbal response like a gesture or a look. If your child changes to a new toy or activity, let them be the leader. For example, if they stop rolling the ball and start playing with blocks, move to the blocks with them. Narrate what your child is doing. For example, I see that you put the red block on top of the blue block. Give specific feedback. For example, I really liked how you took a turn with me so I could play with the car, instead of saying, good job. Here on this slide, you can see more ways families can strengthen their children's play and this learning opportunity. You can model actions and have your child imitate. When children play, they may need you to show or tell them how to use or combine toys. For example, how to stack blocks so they do not fall, or how to pretend to feed dolls and play simple games. They may also need you to show them how to manage frustration or solve problems. For example, how to take or wait a turn, or what to do if a toy breaks. Give your child enough time to respond. For children who do not yet have language, this may be a nonverbal response like a gesture or a look. Adding or extending children's play helps them build new knowledge and make new connections. You can add words or questions to what your child says or does. For example, if your child pushes a car and makes the sound vroom vroom, you might say, vroom vroom, the car is going fast. Focus on the process and not the final product. Remember, the more fun children have as they learn new things, the more likely they are to continue to develop a lifelong love of learning. See how much fun you can have working on a puzzle together, playing a game, or building something. And when it's all finished, don't make a big deal about the finished product. Instead, remember how much fun it was to work together. Young children often do things over and over again. When they do this, they're practicing in order to master a challenge or learn a new skill. The more they practice and master new skills, the more likely they are to take on new challenges and the learning continues. So if you find yourself reading the same book over and over again, remember the essential role repetition plays in your child's development. Encourage other people who live in your home to play with your child. It is important for your child to establish relationships with all the important people in their life. Having fun with people of different ages is an important way that children learn social skills like sharing and resolving problems. And just remember to talk, talk, talk. A rich language environment is important to your child's early learning and can have strong effects on language, vocabulary, reading, and math skills, as well as on your child's social and emotional development. You don't need fancy toys to keep your child engaged. In a child's hands, ordinary objects such as containers and boxes can be the start of extraordinary adventures in learning. A sheet or towel placed over a chair can become a fort or a castle. Playing with objects that can be used in many different ways helps your child develop creativity, language, negotiation, art, math, and engineering skills as you plan, build, and decorate materials and decide together what you are going to make or do. Now we're going to take a look at a few different resources for families to support learning at home. The links to these resources will also be sent in the chat box. This resource is from the Resources for Early Learning website. This website has materials for parents of children birth to 5 years old. It contains parent activities organized in 2 age groups, birth to 33 months and 3 to 5 years, and parenting education videos designed for parents of children from birth to 5 years that give advice, tips, and suggestions on how to support your child's learning. This slide shows one of their tips for parents resources on play. This resource sheet provides additional strategies to support your child during play. This includes putting out household objects or recycled materials such as boxes, tubes, and egg cartons, along with tape and markers to have your child make their own playthings. This can help your child work on maintaining focus to complete a task or handling small objects. Playing board games or games with dice together. These games can help your child learn how to take turns and follow directions. Or playing guessing games and helping your child notice and describe things around them. This can help your child build their vocabulary and communication skills. This site also contains a section of activities and interactive games for children ages 3 to 5. This is another tip sheet from Resources for Early Learning that provides parents with strategies to support pretend play with their child. Pretend play is also called make-believe or dramatic play. Your child may pretend to be a doctor or a bus driver. Pretend play is fun for children, but it can serve many purposes. It can be a time for the child to play with others and to use social skills. Pretend play can allow children to reimagine past experiences, to practice skills, or to think about things that might happen in the future. Sometimes children may use pretend play to make sense of stressful situations. One tip to support pretend play is to ask what-if questions. What-if questions encourage creative play and scientific thinking. For example, you may say, what if this box was a sailboat? Where would you go? What would you take with you? This can also help your child learn to answer and ask questions. The Nurturing Learning series on the Penn State Extension website has materials for parents of children 1 to 4 years old. They cover the areas of language and literacy, arts and creativity, mathematical and scientific thinking, and play and music. The example on the slide is from Play and Music for 3 and 4-year-olds. It talks about what play looks like in 3 and 4-year-olds and how families can support it. Each resource in this series includes an introduction to the topic. For example, this resource on Play and Music starts by discussing how play is a central activity for young children. It is organized into 4 areas: experimenting and inventing through play, imagining through play, learning to play within rules, and representing what children know in play. Within each area, there is a description of what this looks like or what the child is doing. For example, for learning to play within rules, it says, preschoolers are becoming familiar with games with predetermined rules. All of these experiences provide preschoolers with practice in using their developing self-control. There's also a description of what caregivers can provide, such as simple, age-appropriate table games for learning to play with rules, and what caregivers can say and do, such as remembering that the more excited or upset children are, the less able they are to wait their turn or follow other rules that require them to control their impulses. Vanderbilt University developed a set of resources for families to support their children's learning and development. This resource contains some ideas to keep in mind when playing with your child. It highlights many of the ideas that we discussed during this evening's presentation, such as copying your child's words and actions so they know that you are there and responsive, saying what your child is doing while they play, and building on your child's language. You may want to have this resource handy to review or to share with others in your home. This resource is also from Vanderbilt University. As we mentioned earlier in the presentation, being able to ask for a turn or take turns with others is sometimes difficult for young children. This resource provides a step-by-step on how to teach and practice these skills, including identifying times when you are able to provide opportunities for your child to take turns, like playing with toys. Creating an opportunity to prompt your child to take a turn by providing a moderately preferred item, like a favorite toy car, for a few minutes, and using language at your child's level. For example, if your child uses 2 to 3 words to communicate, model short phrases like, my turn. If your child uses signs for communication, model a sign for please. And when first introducing this skill, practice several times throughout the day for several days. When your child is able to take turns consistently before you say your turn or provide a sign, you know your child is learning this skill. Please remember that your child's teacher or related service providers are valuable resources. They can provide support and specific details about how play can help your child work toward achieving his or her IEP goals. In addition, you may want to check with your child's school to see what supports are available for families. As we come to a close, we'd like you to keep the following in mind. Playing with you is your child's most important learning activity. Having fun together regularly will build a strong and positive parent-child relationship. Children learn best when they are engaged in playful ways with important people in their everyday lives. Parent engagement in child learning at home predicted greater academic achievement in children than any other form of parent involvement. The most important part of playing with your children is having fun. You are your child's favorite toy. There's nothing in the world your child would rather do than play with you. Laugh, be silly, be creative, be playful. Know that all that fun is adding up to rich learning experiences that will build the skills your children will need for success in school and in life. Keep in mind, you are not expected to replace your child's teacher or related service provider. Your role is to support your child's learning. Do what you can and let the rest go. We thank you again for joining us this evening. For additional questions or support, you can call the Special Education Hotline at 718-935-2007 or 311, or email specialeducation@schools.nyc.gov. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Shahna, for all that great information. We've been answering questions throughout the day, and one of the biggest questions that everyone has, I want to just answer on here, is around getting this information, the PowerPoint decks and the recordings for these sessions. So the answer is yes, we are recording these sessions, and we will be sharing them with you all. We have to get them translated and captioned in all the translations. But once that's all done, we're going to post these up on on the DOE website, and you will all be receiving an email with links to that information. Maria, I know you wanted to walk through some other websites and resources. Do you want to take some time to do that now?
Yeah, that would be great. Can you see my?
I see the Vanderbilt screen, yes.
Perfect. So I know that this evening we've been talking a lot about play, and we talked a little bit about this website from Vanderbilt. And they do have these wonderful resources related to supporting children's play. We showed you one of them in the presentation, but also just to show you, they actually go a little bit deeper in terms of solitary play, all of the different types of plays that we discussed, the cooperative play. And if you go into these, if you click on here, you come to these nice little guides that are really nice and simple, but they also provide you, for each of the stages of play that your child is at, some of the things that the adults can do to help support onlooker play or cooperative play, the various different types of plays that we discussed. So you can see here, how can adults support onlooker play, provide opportunities for the child to observe other children playing, encourage the child to watch other children as they play, make comments about the play activity of the other children, provide the child with time and space to engage in onlooker play. And what's great is these are wonderful resources for yourself. And again, as Shahna pointed out during the presentation, they're also amazing resources to have for other people that might be in your home, other adults, other people in your child's life, to help support as you all play with your child together. But I do also want to highlight, even though today's presentation was about play specifically, they also have these amazing resources around preventing challenging behaviors and supporting children's social and emotional development. And I know, particularly during this time of distance learning, a lot of those questions, we've been getting a lot of those questions from families. So I did want to take a moment to highlight the resources that they have available. So they have some resources around preventing strategies. So what are those strategies that we can put in place as a parent to help prevent some of the challenging behaviors that we're seeing? So as you see here, they have creating a visual daily schedule, keeping it positive. So how do we use positive language to talk about our expectation for children? Creating a visual daily schedule, providing choices within activities or between activities. And I'll just click on this one. And as you can see again, it provides a simple visual in terms of what you can do to support children with something like this, with a prevention strategy to provide choices within an activity. And what I also like is that for me, sometimes visually, this can be a little overwhelming. So at the bottom, if you click where it says here, it actually just provides you just the language and takes the visuals away. So it gives you that option of what might work best for you or for others. But these are great things just to read over, to have available to you as you're working with your child, as you're as you're putting these strategies in place, or again, even to share with other adults that might be in your household and playing with your child or with your child throughout the day. So again, they have some of these to prevent strategies. And then as we move down, it also includes the first then visual. A lot of these strategies, you may also want to talk to your teacher or related service provider that's working with your child, just to talk about like what are some of the goals that your child is working on, and they may be able to direct you to which of these might be most helpful or things that you may want to start with first, because we certainly wouldn't want to do all of this at once, so they can really help you decide what that would look like. So we're moving from preventing strategies to actually teaching children skills to help them to replace some of those challenging behaviors that we might be seeing. So how do we work with children to help them to support them if they need to ask for help, if they need to ask for more, or ask for a turn. I think asking for a turn is a big one that often comes up, right? If we're home and we're playing games with siblings or we're playing games with our child, we often, or even in the school environment, we often see that as an IEP goal for children, like asking for a turn or waiting for a turn. Giving our children choices or teaching them to ask us for attention. So instead of using a challenging behavior, how do we teach them the skill of asking for attention when they need it? So again, it's sort of, you can see here, it gives you step by step what this could look like. And then what I also like too is, I think quite often, we hear like your teachers or your related service providers might be talking to you about prompting. So they have this nice resource that talks about what is prompting? What does that look like when I'm working with my child? So it goes through just from a gesture and pointing in the direction of what you want your child to do or where you want them to go. Or just modeling, showing your child what to do. So again, these go into like a variety of different areas, but they do it in a very nice visual way, which again you can use, or someone in your household that's also working with your child can use. And then what's really great at the end here is they have some other resources to support social and emotional development. So this idea of recognizing your hot buttons, right? So, how do I, when things are happening or when stressful things are happening around me, how do I recognize what's happening with me? And so that I know how I'm feeling and I can respond to my child. Also distance learning, we know this is a challenging time, so it offers some tips at home because this might be a time that's overwhelming for your child. And they even have, as we move down, talking with your child about race. So that's the Vanderbilt website. And then I also just wanted to share, just going back to play, on our schools.nyc.gov website, we have a Learn at Home page where we have activities available for students. And I did want to highlight that on here you will find a section around early childhood, and it gives you some wonderful resources in regards to activities when we're talking at play that you can try with your child at home. So, and it does it in terms of like different areas that they would typically see in the classroom if they were in the classroom. So you would see a center around blocks where they get to manipulate different objects and build buildings and houses. So it talks about different things that you can do with your child as you're playing. In each of these different areas. So dramatic play would be like the pretend play that we talked about during our presentation. The art area, so different things that you can just do, again, with your child. Here we have make a shaker with your child out of empty water bottles. It goes into science discovery. So I just definitely wanted to highlight that as well. And that's it. I'll send that back to you, Jose.
Thanks, Maria, for sharing those resources. There you go. Thank you for sharing those resources. I'm looking at some of the chat here, and I see that someone put in a really good question around, and I'm summarizing. What are some ways that they can support their child through play? What can I do to support my child, given that he's only playing with me and has no access to other children? So I think we talked about a lot of different strategies, but maybe we can re-up some for that question. Am I muted?
No, I think that was me.
Oh, okay.
Sorry. Yeah, I know. Again, I think it can be really challenging, particularly during this time of distance learning, and there may be limited people in the household that your child has the ability to interact with. But there might be opportunities if you have access to internet. To maybe FaceTime other children and be able to provide those type of play opportunities, like with a friend, maybe with a child from another adult that's in their life, so that they have that type of access or interaction with other people. But again, like we stressed in the presentation, you are your child's first playmate, and that's okay too if they only have access to you. Just have fun with them, regardless if they're playing with you or they're playing with another child. They're still working on those skills, and that's what's really important. They're going to continue to build those skills.
That's great. So definitely being able to maximize that time with your child as a parent, and then also utilize all the virtual tools at our disposal. I think of my nephew, who's not quite so itty bitty anymore. He's growing up way too fast. But I love that we have our FaceTimes where we get together and just play around with each other, and pretend like we're there. All right, I'm skimming through.
Okay. And Maria.
Yes, Becky.
Hi, Maria. A lot of folks are asking if you would be able to share the Vanderbilt link directly in the published section as well.
Absolutely, I'll do that right now, Becky.
Great. And I know that you dropped a whole bunch of other links in there as well. So folks should be able to see all of the links that Maria shared in there. Becky, are you seeing any other hot topics?
No, I don't think so. It was a lot of resource accessing, and then a couple specific scenarios. But feel free to continue to ask questions, and we'll get back to you.
Oh, here's an interesting one. What if my child never wants to play? How can I engage him when he is not interested?
That's a great question, and I bring it back to in the presentation when Shahna was talking about just really sort of leading with your child and your child's interest. I think, it's very important to just observe what your child's doing, observe what they're interested in, just make it happen naturally. Whatever it is that, that they're interested in, and sort of taking that in the way to engage in that play with them.
That's great. Can you speak to what I can do with my son who does not know how to play because he is functioning at an infant level? I feel like that's sorry, because they're functioning at an infant level. Yes, I read it right. I thought I read it wrong for a moment.
So again, as we were talking about in the presentation, we were talking about the different stages of play. So again, we certainly want to always meet our children where they're at. So again, for a child that might be functioning at a lower level, like what does that look like in terms of play for them? Even if it's just a matter of just engaging them with eye contact, or just sort of, if there again is there a toy that they're interested in, even if you're modeling the language for them. But again, it's important to use your teachers and your related service providers in terms of discussing like what they're currently working on with your child, and maybe some suggestions in terms of their level of how you can work with them.
Oh, here's something that seems kind of meaty. Can you talk about the transition, what the transition looks like for children who are moving from onlooker play to social play? Maria?
Sorry. I think I was on mute. So can you repeat the question one more time? I apologize.
Absolutely. Can you talk about what the transition looks like for a child who is moving from onlooker play to social play?
Well, it's so the interesting thing about play is that children can be in and out of different stages of play. Social or cooperative play is definitely a much more advanced stage of play, because this is really where children are really thinking about rules. They're negotiating rules. They're able to resolve conflicts together. Whereas in onlooker play, right, they're really just sort of watching what's happening. They're sort of learning from others. They're copying what they're doing in terms of playing. So again, you might see that children are moving in and out of different types of play in that way. But just like we were talking about today, there are ways that you can support them to move towards more of a social and cooperative, right? How are we sitting down with them and talking to them as they're playing, either with you or with other children, right? If there's conflicts that come up or disagreements, modeling what it looks like to resolve those conflicts that come up, modeling what it looks like to talk about rules, to share toys as we're playing, even prompting in terms of pushing children in terms of moving towards more of like a cooperative play. But like I said, the cooperative play is a little bit more of an advanced skill, but we can certainly do a lot of those different strategies to help support them in developing and moving towards that stage of play.
Thank you so much, Maria. Thank you so much, Becky. Thank you so much, Shahna. Great information you shared tonight. Really appreciate it. For those of you who joined us, like I said earlier, we have been recording the session. Once they're translated, we'll post them up on the DOE website, and we'll send you all an email with the information on how to access it and links to them. I wanted, before we close out today, just give a plug. We are continuing to do more sessions. If for all of you who have registered for these sessions, we will send you an email with registration links for the upcoming sessions. So next week, we're going to be talking about summer school and promotion. So if you have questions around summer school and promotion criteria, feel free to sign up for that session, and we'll be joined with some folks from our instructional team who will be able to share some additional resources and information with you all. So thank you all once again for joining. We are thankful for the preschool special education team for joining us, and thankful for all of you. I will see you all next week. Have a great night, everyone.